Well, hello. Looks like I'm on planet Zeno. Wow. How is everyone today on this holiday Friday? Greetings from Regina, Saskatchewan, in the middle of nowhere, Canada. And welcome to this special holiday update. I just figured I'd pop on for a few minutes and, of course, um, go over some of the latest updates to do with our phenomenal Kickstarter, which launched on Wednesday morning, April 1st. No joke. Although we did have a joke to go along with it. Not sure if you saw it, but it was pretty slick. It was pretty clever, I think. At least that's what people were saying. So, hello, my name is Warren. Welcome to everybody out there. There's already a couple people tuning in. Let's see who's joining us today. We've got Nancy from Calgary. Good afternoon, my friend. Hi, everyone tuning in from Banff, Alberta. Nancy and Banff. Wow, just a beautiful, beautiful part of the world, isn't it? And of course, a few of us even went there back in 2023, along with Nick Tate and Yasko Nagazumi. We had a little mini Space 1999 convention there with an amazing setup of original props and exhibits. With Darren Peters. He has the original 44-inch Eagle 3 replica from the series, along with a whole plethora of other goodies. We had artwork on display. We had David Hirsch brought the original Eagle 11. Bob Wood brought some Keith Wilson art, pre-production art, beautiful, beautiful pieces. We had an original Command Center panel there as well, and a whole tribute to Martin Landau. We had just discovered all of the documents in his collection. So what a great time Calgary was. And yeah, thank you to everybody for coming up for that. That's sort of where we got into the whole idea of day trips. We went to Banff one day and rode up a gondola, and yeah, Nick and Yasko joined us, and then we went to the famous Vulcan, Alberta, as well, and also to a local town nearby called Drumheller to visit a world famous dinosaur museum called the Tyrrell Museum, and that was right up Nick's alley as well, of course, because of that, as many of you know, the Jurassic Park connection, and Nick did the voiceover for the very first Jurassic Park movie. So yeah, we established a lot in Calgary, and then of course we were able to adopt and adapt that to going into London, and of course Los Angeles with the day trips. So yeah, long story short, Calgary is great. And Nancy, that's where we first met, and my sister Heather, and just dear friends. And Nancy's been a staunch supporter all that time. Hello from Brampton, Ontario, another Canadian out there, a morally ambiguous net. Hi, not sure your name. I don't recognize it. You may be one of the new family members on the Space 1999 Return to Moonbase Alpha pages, or the 50th anniversary page. Thanks for tuning in today, or a Kickstarter supporter in general. Yes. So we've got, wow, Jeffrey, FFFF, Jeff. Is this thing on? Is this thing still on? Of course it is. You know, it was funny. I was feeling so many comments going into the Kickstarter launch to do with April Fools. And some people did think, oh yeah, oh sure. Yeah. It's a big, yeah, believe it when I see it. So no, it was a lot of fun. Dear friend Stephen Ratters out there today. Took a day off work. Happy to catch this live from San Francisco. Stephen, wow, was instrumental in putting together our exhibit room for Los Angeles 1999 last September, and virtually packed up everything in a cargo van and his entire collection virtually. Well, not the entire collection, but it filled up our whole room with just Stephen stuff. Amazing. Wow. Just anything you can think of down through the years, from merchandise, models, props, scratch built items. Wow. I just, hats off to Stephen, and you really made a lot of people happy in Los Angeles, having all that on display. So thank you so much. Looks like we've got Terry dialing in from Greece today. Hello, my friend. Nice to see you. And hope you're going to make it to Manchester in September, as I hope many of you do. It's going to be a really, really fun, special weekend. We've announced the hotel to be the Holiday Inn in Oldham, just outside of Manchester. So a very nice, quaint little facility. We'll have a booking room in a couple of weeks here, likely. And, with everything we did in London, I mean, it's I don't have any regrets, but it's not something I wanted to undertake again on my own. Or, I think the whole idea all along the way is to sort of be able to, as I mentioned earlier, play off what had come before and make it easier each time out that we plan these events. But this year, you know what I mean, because I don't think anybody's going to top 30 plus guests, and I just it wasn't something I wanted to undertake again myself. It was great, but it was such a whirlwind of activity, and I just thank my lucky stars that everything came together so nicely, and there were no hitches or glitches along the way throughout the weekend. But so anyway, long story short, we're going to be at a smaller hotel and probably a smaller guest list, a little more intimate this time out. But the nice thing is we're planning on obtaining exclusivity of the hotel. So once we get that booking link in place in a couple weeks, you're going to want to be Johnny on the spot with securing a room if you need one, because there's probably only going to be about 50 rooms available, and we've far surpassed that with the last couple of events. So it's not to say that you can't book another hotel close by if we run out, but it is certainly more convenient if you're all staying at the same facility, of course. And then the other nice thing is it's just going to be us. Hopefully, if we can pull this off, so it's really going to create the sense and the environment of all things Space 1999 throughout the weekend. So we're really happy about that new and fun dynamic of renting out the whole facility in Oldham in Manchester, a very, very quaint little Holiday Inn. So be watching for the booking link. Boy, oh boy, we have so many people out there today. I would also like to say hello to a dear friend, Arthur Hora. Hello from Michigan. Yes. And Art's been a big supporter, as Nancy has, the last few events, and also been helping out in immense ways on the volunteer team. So thank you to everybody out there. Speaking of which, another volunteer, Brian Lockler. No, I'm at work. Nobody told my boss. Hello, my friend. I hope you're doing okay. And look at that. Terry's already saying he's already packing. That's awesome. Yeah. That's terrific. I know. I think you had a really, really nice time in London, and we're just happy to provide that experience again to everybody who's committing to come along to Manchester. So, Mr. Paul Hibbets. Hello, my friend, another fellow Canadian. Greetings from Vancouver. Paul, I'm not sure if we've ever actually met. If we have, I do apologize. It's been a whirlwind the last little while, and the last couple of weeks in particular with launching this Kickstarter, and my memory is just shite, as I like to say. So hello and welcome. I appreciate your support. And we have a morally ambiguous, a new guy named Rob. Hey, Rob. Well, thank you for everything. And as I mentioned earlier, welcome to the family. And we appreciate your support with everything to do with Return to Moonbase Alpha. I think that's been on a lot of people's minds this week. And wow, I mean, we couldn't have planned for a better launch and a better opening. Funded within 3 hours. I just, I clicked that button at 8 a.m. my time in Saskatchewan, and within moments, I saw that figure starting to go up and the backers jumping on board. And we had, I think, had hit 50% of our funding goal in the first hour. And then we topped that and surpassed our full funding goal at about 3 hours and 15 minutes. I was there the whole time, and I just couldn't believe it. I was live streaming during it, and it was an amazing experience and such a thrill to see. It's I'd never really set up a Kickstarter before, so I was sort of shooting from the hip, and I just had to do some research, and there's a lot to it, but it certainly paid off. There's a lot to setting up the rewards and perks and the different tiers. Thankfully I didn't have to do a lot. Well, I've been working on this for 2 or 3 months, right, since the beginning of the year. Well, the project, the idea actually goes back to 2023, believe it or not. And it's been, there's been ups and downs, and it's been a rocky road. There's been some hurdles, trust me. But we were, finally getting all that worked out. And I knew going into 2026 that we were going to likely be able to pull this off finally. So, we sort of started that hype campaign around the first of the year with some posters and graphics that went over really well. There was lots of people excited and lots of engagement. And then, basically the last 6 weeks, I really started to take a crash course in all things Kickstarter. Well, I guess it worked. So thank you all again out there. Just as an update. So, wow. Where do I start? Let's see here. Let me find some latest images. Yeah. So here's, just so everybody knows. Oh, and we'll do this real quick. So here's where we're at. We're going into the holiday weekend. We've reduced the prices of some of the tiers that nobody had bid on. You're allowed to do that, but up until somebody bids, you can't change it. So we drop things in price a little bit on certain items. The virtual calls with Nick and Catherine, one of the posters, beautiful poster. The 11 by 17 cast autograph is also reduced in price. So check that out over the weekend. Those prices are only going to be in effect till Monday. And then starting next week, we will be announcing the first stretch goal. We'll have 2 or 3 of these to lay out over the course of the month. And I just didn't expect to be having to come up with this so soon. So details are currently being worked on and negotiated with a few people. I do want to point out, though, that for anybody maybe thinking of holding off until we announce these stretch goals, there's really no benefit to that, because the stretch goals, I just want everybody to know right off the bat, the stretch goals will benefit everyone. Every single backer that's contributed so far or will be contributing throughout the month. This stretch goal is the first one anyway, is going to be something that we can all work together towards and all reap the benefits of at the end of the day. It's very, very exciting. And you'll find out a little more about that into next week. And of course, this was the other big exciting one, just with everything else going on this week. I mean, I just wanted to really, sort of make everybody aware that, yes, Nick is 100% on board in more ways than one. And we did it. Nick Tate, Alan Carter will be back at the controls of Eagle 1 or Eagle 6 very, very soon. So we are making this a reality. We did this together. Thank you so much, everyone. Nick is very excited. You can even tell, those pictures from London where we got him in the orange spacesuit, and his autograph table was right across from Daryl Simmons' Eagle cockpit replica. And boy, what an amazing piece of work that was. The level of detail here. I mean, there's no differentiating between, the original set and what we had in London. It was an amazing feat, an amazing accomplishment by Daryl Simmons and team, his entire family, Diane, Scotty, Nikki. They had parts and pieces of the Eagle strewn throughout their living room for months, literally. So anyway, so we're really excited to make this a reality. And of course, the little comment there, the right stuff, the right way in 2026. Of course, a little nod and reference to all things happening and going on this week. It was so exciting to see the Artemis 2 launch on the same day as our Kickstarter. We live streamed throughout it. It was an amazing moment for all of us as Space 1999 fans. You couldn't help but feel that connection. And I've had a couple friends of mine say, "Did you plan that? That was genius marketing to launch on the same day." And they said, "That's the narrative I should be spinning." But in all honesty, it was a huge coincidence. So I uh, I had selected April 1st, like I said, about a couple months back, because I figured that would give me enough time this year to prepare things and launch a successful campaign. So, um, of course, with that, I think I mentioned the whole idea of launching on April Fools, right? But I knew in the back of my mind I was going to use that to my advantage as well and come up with I Revenge of Moonbase Alpha was the April Fool's joke, and even complete with graphics and logos done up by our good friend Ken Scott. Did the special revenge graphic and logo for us, just to ensure our April Fool's joke went that one step further in maybe fooling a couple of you out there. So, and of course, if you know, I mean, that was sort of all based on the famous story where originally Return of the Jedi was changed to Revenge of the Jedi, and then I think it went back to, well, it did go back to Return of the Jedi, and that whole history there. If you're a science fiction fan, and so that went over very well. But no, the NASA Artemis launch. It was a couple weeks back. We were on a live stream talking about the launch of the Return to Moonbase Alpha Kickstarter, and somebody in the comments had chimed in and said, "Oh, look, Artemis is going up the same day," and I just about fell off the chair. So couldn't believe it. It was the most wonderful coincidence in the world that I could ever have possibly have hoped for. So it was meant to be, and it's just this entire week. That's why I wanted to jump on today. I do have a live stream and update scheduled for Sunday, to sort of go over all things Kickstarter, a weekly recap and update, as well as we're going to spin that into the next segment of Space 1999 this episode. So we're going to be joined by a good friend, Mike Burrows from over in the UK. And we're going to be talking about New Adam, New Eve, the year 2 episode, New Adam, New Eve. So be watching for that as well on Sunday. It's scheduled for 9 a.m. my time, which will be 11 Eastern and 4 p.m. over in the UK. So be watching for that on the 50th anniversary pages, as well as on YouTube. So yeah, back to this week in particular. It was such just so many things, and it came together. I just wanted to point out a couple other things here real quick, and this goes back a few years on one of our live events that we did where we had science fiction author Mr. Robert Sawyer on as a guest. And Robert's also Canadian, lives down in Ontario. And he reminded me of a childhood keepsake of my own that I had when I was 4 or 5 years old. And it really sparked my imagination with all things space flight and the world of NASA was very much still in the news. It was topical. It was relevant at the time, in the early 1970s, and of course, seeing Space 1999 premiere just was an extension of all that. And I've said this many times that as being that age, it was really easy to sort of predict and forecast out 25 years and say to yourself, well, why wouldn't we have a base on the moon by that time? It made so much sense, right? Growing up in the early 1970s, that it was only logical. So anyway, there was something else that Robert Sawyer jogged my memory on, and so this is 2-3 years back, and we were talking about it live on the stream, and then I went and found the image. It was a children's book, which I had, and I just loved, and I read it every night. It was my favorite book in the world, and here it is, by May and Ira Freeman. It's called You Will Go to the Moon. And that covered, as soon as I saw it a couple of years ago, and I don't know, what, my mom, knowing my own mother, she probably has this in storage somewhere. So I'm real curious to see if she hung on to this, because this really was the key to sparking my 5-year-old imagination about going to the moon, living on the moon, along with, like I said, Space 1999 was new and fresh and exciting. And it's just everything, in the news related to the Apollo program is all these little things. But all of this has now come full circle this week, believe it or not. It's just so remarkable to me. In my mind, I'm going to jump over and just see if we do certainly have a few more comments. So Simon's out there. Hello, my friend. As Artemis represents the return of humankind to deeper space for good, so Space 1999 is back for good as well. Absolutely, Simon. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, the timing of all of these different little facets and dynamics this week. It's just remarkable to me. My brain is melting thinking about it all. So, and then Simon's following up a stretch goal. We can construct Alpha for real. Well, you know what? And Simon, we actually, the night before, we had actually a doctor from NASA on one of our live streams, Dr. Kelly Fash. She was actually a panel contributor to our Los Angeles event last September. And she works in the Planetary Defense Department at NASA. So essentially asteroid detection and deflection. Just fascinating. She's so amazing. She did drop the little tidbit that she's actually got a Space 1999 Eagle that sits on her desk at NASA, of all things. But and she said to me after, like, we had just so much fun talking about the show, and she's been a fan all her life as well. She was so giddy to come on. She had all the merchandise. She had the old RCA record album there. And but she said to me after, we even forgot to, there was so much going on. We forgot to mention that there was an announcement about a moon base, potentially in the works being constructed over the next few years. And it's just there again, it's just one more little layer of reality falling into place for us all. It's just so amazing. Hello there again, Rob. Choose your physical stretch goals carefully. They always end up costing more than expected. Yes, absolutely, Rob. You know what? I've been very conscious of that all the way along. And to address that right off the bat, the main stretch, well, actually all the stretch goals I have in my head are more of a social stretch goal. So like I said, it's something that's going to benefit everybody. Current and previous backers as well as future backers throughout the month. So yeah, right off the bat, don't hesitate on contributing over the weekend, right? Because once this first stretch goal is announced, it will apply to everybody who's previously contributed, right up from and including Wednesday morning. So, but no, good point. And this is all part of the research I had to do is that, because if you overpromise and underdeliver, right, then it starts costing you. And the whole idea is we want to, because even Kickstarter takes a cut, of course. So, you do have to be very cognizant of your costs and expenses, including those tiers, but also stretch goals. So great point. And Mr. Redder, you're out there again. I have a wild idea. Wouldn't it be great, since we still have original models, including an Eagle and Moonbase buildings, to shoot some new effects and involve Brian Johnson? Push to get more funding. Isn't that a very, very interesting idea, Stephen? Yeah, you know what? All things retro and original, and of course practical effects, and we've got all those things at our disposal. It's not like there again, it all makes so much sense, right? We're so grateful to have the original models, in the hands of amazing collectors like yourself, Stephen, right? We've got Moonbase buildings. I know that for a fact. Brian Johnson, he's still very active, and like it would be amazing to involve Mr. Johnson in some capacity. And I think I'd even mentioned to this him a couple of years back, because it goes back to 23. But yeah, no, really, really valid, Stephen. That's certainly something to consider throughout the month. Art's chiming in. Personally, I'm pleased with the international collaboration involved in the Artemis mission. Absolutely, my friend. You know what? Being from Canada, that was an extra special moment in history and time to see that rocket go up the other night. And it was just such a thrill for me. Canada's been a big part of the NASA space program for many, many years, going back with the Canada arm that was used in the space shuttles for many, many years. And I even saw a quick little video the night before from the launch site, and it was Senator Mark Kelly, who also commanded some shuttle missions back in the day. And he mentioned the fact that he was just so proud and happy to have a Canadian on board this special mission, and the collaboration between the Canadian Space Agency and NASA has been very, very strong and vibrant for many, many years. So yeah, a good point there, Art. Absolutely. Simon's responded to Stephen. Wonderful. Even one more effect sequence in the manner of the original. Yes, absolutely. To tie in, to pay homage to the amazing visual effects work that was done back in the day. I mean, say what you will about computer generated effects and now certainly AI, there's an endearing quality and charm to seeing practical effects. And the other example I brought up the other night, sorry, I'm going to have a sip of coffee here. I think it was during Kelly's broadcast. Yes, because I asked her if she'd ever seen this little movie from 2009 called Moon, simply called Moon. It was directed by David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, and it starred Sam Rockwell. Just an amazing, amazing little picture, shot on a budget of I think $5 million. But part of that was because they decided to use practical effects. And it was such a love letter to everything 2001 and Space 1999, to see that in the year of 2009. And if you haven't yet, yes, check out a little movie directed by David Bowie's son, Duncan Jones, called Moon. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Oh, look at, speak of the devil, Mr. Daryl Simmons is out there. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Nice to see you. Always nice to hear from you. I hope everything's okay there. It's been a busy week here, but yeah, we'll touch base very soon. And of course, Daryl's hard at work on we'll say maybe even adding to what we had in London a little bit. And if all the pieces fall into place, of course, Daryl will be joining us in Manchester with his family again. I'm crossing my fingers. It'd be great to see everyone. And of course, the Eagle 6. So we are, I can't believe it's 6 months away. My goodness, I've got so much going on in my life, but we're gonna make it happen, aren't we? Together, collectively, and this week is just one more prime example of the way everything just Space 1999 fans are just amazing, and to set us over that goal in 3 hours, it's just wow, I'm at a loss for words. I truly am. But Daryl, good to see you out there, and please give all my best to the family. Okay. Simon is following up with, it was a great of NASA to support the Kickstarter by choosing the launch date. Absolutely. I agree. No, very good, very good. And Simon, well, we could have gone to the moon. Blame Nixon. Next generation definitely will. Yeah, that was an interesting time, wasn't it? Yeah, but just so amazing. 53 years later, that's how long it was, believe it or not. Between moon launches, and just an incredible time to be alive, like I said, and Space 1999 fans in general can't help but feel the connection and the vibe between everything that's going on right now is just overwhelming. Mr. Philip Leavenworth is out there. Hey, my friend. Hey, Warren. I'm pleased to see the Kickstarter doing so well. Hope to contribute soon. Thank you very much. And for anybody out there, yes, we really appreciate things. Philip, nice to see you briefly in Los Angeles. I had a lot going on, but Philip's also been on one of our Space 1999 this episode podcasts. Love to have you back for maybe a year 2 segment as well, Phil. So Phil's following up. It's been quite the last few weeks. Return to Moonbase Alpha, Project Hail Mary, which I haven't seen yet, Artemis 2, and the return of For All Mankind. Yes, you read my mind. I think we talked about this on our podcast. um, again, it just occurred to me that I knew it was coming, but I checked last night and I saw the first episode, and I think the second one has already dropped as well. We're going to talk a little bit about that in just a few minutes, Phil. It's another amazing connection to the entire world of Space 1999, and I just really wanted to come on here today and just say it's one more reason that we should all be celebrating this week, is the return of this fantastic alt space history TV series by Ron Moore, who, if any of you saw the new Battlestar Galactica reboot or soft reboot, the same fellow, and Ron Moore goes back to some of the later days of Deep Space Nine and Voyager, writing for Star Trek, but boy, yeah, we'll come back to that in a minute. I'm just so excited, boy, and thanks to everybody out there. Daryl, it'll be so special. You bet, my friend. Yeah. And of course, great timing. It's just, when the universe says something and calls out to you, it was meant to be. And everything this week is just, I'm a firm believer in things happening for a reason, and things playing out the way they should in a certain order. And it's just this week has probably been one of the best weeks of my life. And I just can't thank you all enough out there, for everything you guys have done. And just my heart, just thank you. It's truly, it's a labor of love for all of us, isn't it? And seeing a potential return to Space 1999 in some form is just what everybody has been dreaming of for so many years, right? So yeah, and it ties back to, like, I'll just pull this up again for a minute. I mean, we did it, everyone. Congratulations. We are going to make this happen. And Nick Tate will be piloting Eagle 6 in a few short months. It's unbelievable, and just a dream come true for so many. So anyway, yeah. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be on today, but I did want to cover a couple of things. And of course, by the time you start reading some comments and seeing everybody out there so excited to take part, I mean, I thought this could be like a 5 or 10 minute little update, but here we are. It's 36 minutes. We haven't even sort of touched on For All Mankind. We've talked about the NASA launch and just such an amazing thrill on so many levels for so many people to watch that live broadcast. And I was just giddy watching it with all of you, it was a childhood dream to be a part of that, and just an amazing accomplishment for everyone. So anyway, For All Mankind, if you guys haven't seen it, as I mentioned just a second ago, this is, and spoiler not spoiler, but they set up the premise in like the opening 2 minutes of the series, and so it's essentially, and I mean, the show is 5 years old. It's just coming back for its 5th season. So I'm not going to dance around the spoiler aspect, and especially the premise of the show. I mean, because if you do any research whatsoever, you're going to find out. But long story short, it addresses or asks the question, what if the Russians landed on the moon first before America? And that's the entire premise in a nutshell. And it sort of branches off or spins into this alternate reality series, which basically each season covers a particular decade, I'd say, roughly. So the first season was basically all about the 60s and early 70s, right? But yeah, basically Russia made it there first, and then it really set everything in motion, and everything was sort of pivoted from there, and it's created a much different dynamic between Russia and America, as far as the space race goes, right? Because essentially, once America made it there, it's just like everything just sort of petered out after 5 years or so, right? But in this case, it really created a sense of competitiveness to see who could come up with the next first, right? So, and I think in the in universe for all mankind. I think Russia got the second first, if you will, by landing the first female astronaut on the moon. So then it was a real race to go back and forth, and from there it developed into the first who would develop the first moon base. So it's just all these things, and actually I've got a shot here, and I tell you what, the amazing utilitarian design work on For All Mankind. Again, as with Space 1999, where everything was sort of an extension of NASA design and existing NASA technology that we all knew, right? This is essentially their take on the very, very first moon base, and established, if you note, October 12th, 1973. Amazing, amazing. And essentially, it was one of the Apollo landers converted, right? And I think that's basically the landing module, but it's been there's been some habitat environments added to it, but just amazing visualizations of what could have been, right? So yeah, and you know what? I mean, I just want to preface. I won't get into it too much, but I think the reason I wanted to talk about this today is that, you know, for me, watching For All Mankind is really about the future that I wanted to see, and it was the future of Space 1999. It was the dream of living on the moon, and then beyond, right? I mean, and throughout the course of the series, in the second season, they cover the 1970s with the first moon base, right? And then into the 80s, right? Season 3, season 3 or season 4 was the race to Mars, right? Now, season 3 was an extension of the moon base, so it was, you know, like went from like 2 or 3 people to hundreds of people. Then season 3 was a race to Mars, and it's just, you know, and it's so tied to real world dynamics and problems, and I think in season 3 they introduced the idea of space flight privatization, right? With private companies vying for you know, stakes and things, and they introduced this character named Dev Ayesa, and he's sort of like I guess he's loosely based on Elon Musk. The actor, Edie Gaethetti, you guys, a lot of you, if you haven't seen or heard of him, he played in the James Gunn Superman movie from last year. And I can't remember his character's name, but he was a favorite in that Superman movie. And so he plays this great character named Dev Ayesa in For All Mankind as well. And so yeah, then they're racing to Mars, and so it's not only, it's a 3-way race to Mars. So it's not only NASA and of course the Russians with Star City, which I'm going to come back to Star City in a moment, but then it's Dev Ayesa's company, this private company called Helios Aerospace as well. So it's actually a 3-way race to Mars, and it's just incredible human drama, right? Of course, the premise is there throughout, but just as with Battlestar Galactica, Ron Moore proved that he can write some of the most smart and intelligent drama and characterizations, and it's just, everybody in this series is just excellent. The main star is geez, well, I can't think of his name right now. Joel Kinnaman. There we go. Joel Kinnaman. Yeah, you know what? This is a shot from, I think, the first episode that's set in the 1960s, and they're all watching the Russians land on the moon first. And he does an amazing job. And of course, so season 5 just launched, and they're sort of the timeline, I believe, is about 2012 or 2013. So it's not quite on par with our own reality and timeline. But at this point, yeah, Joel Kinnaman's Ed Baldwin is the character name, and he's of course much advanced in age and years. I think here's a shot of nope, I'm sorry, wrong one. I might not have it. Shot of him many years later, but yeah, some of the I'll just scroll through a couple of these. Here's a great shot. And the technology, I mean, it's whew, probably one of the most realistic depictions of spaceflight, boy, that I can think of. And everything is just, there's Ed Baldwin a little later on. And of course they get it. And when I said, you know, some of the amazing drama and storytelling, of course, it's very political, you can imagine, as well, between everything to do with the Russians and the U.S., right? And one of the arcs in the second season, when they're slowly building that first moon base and moon colony, of course, the Russians established theirs. So there's 2 colonies on the moon. And of course, one of the arcs in season 2 was the weaponization of the moon and suddenly involving bringing weapons to the moon. And it's just, like I said, absolutely stunning and amazing storytelling and human drama. It's and from a political thriller perspective, it's just, like I said, it's one of the best. So anyway, let's see, let's pop over some comments here. And Simon saying For All Mankind could almost be the Space 1999 prequel. You know what? You're absolutely right, and I'm gonna dovetail off that, Simon, with another thought. And a lot of people the last few years have been sort of attributing For All Mankind as being an unofficial sequel to another amazing near Earth sort of science fiction story, and that's a TV series called The Expanse. The Expanse. And do you know what? If you linked all 3 together, right? Space 1999, For All Mankind, and then The Expanse, wow, what a lineup, and what a shared universe that could be. And it would so easily fit. Amazing. Yeah, The Expanse, another one. Big advocate, big fan of The Expanse. If you haven't checked it out, Phil's chiming in. Yeah, season 3 was the 3-way race to Mars, NASA, the USSR, and Helios, the private company. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like Space 1999. If the moon didn't get pulled out of orbit, you're right. You're right, Phil. I mean, that would be the one thing that would upset that little in-universe theory. But I'd like to point something else out as well. When I mentioned a few minutes ago that you know, there's definitely ties and connections there between space and For All Mankind. There's something else that really sticks in my mind, and it sort of says, yeah, this could work. It's you know, it's certainly easy enough to see. In season 2 of For All Mankind, and this is just a fun theory that I think a lot of us have dreamt of and thought about over the years, over the last 50 years, is quite simply, it's not just if the, you know, what would be different if the Russians made it to the moon first, but let me posit this question in theory. What would be different if Space 1999 would have aired maybe a few years earlier than it did? So say in the 1960s. And what would happen? What would be different today if Space 1999 was actually the more beloved series over Star Trek? What if? And, you know, I think in his own little way, Ron Moore, who actually is an admitted Space 1999 fan, I remember that because I heard an audio commentary of Ron Moore's back on the Battlestar Galactica DVD or Blu-ray sets, where he said one of the inspirations for him using the quick cut edits in the opening titles was because of Space 1999. believe it or not. So he was definitely a fan. But anyway, long story short, in season 2, they reference Space 1999 of For All Mankind. And there's an amazing little scene where somebody shows up at somebody's home, and they have a collection of NASA rockets and NASA things like that. And sitting off to the side, and the character, her name is Alita, her jaw drops, and she well, I'll just show you. She focuses in on a Space 1999 comlock sitting off to the side. You can see it right there. So, and there's some other reference to this person actually got it from Barbara Bain. So they dropped Barbara Bain's name. And, you know, the way you could take this is that, yes, Star Trek, you know, maybe Star Trek still came out. Actually, they do talk about Star Trek later on, but the fact that there was only 3 seasons of Star Trek, that's what it was. Yeah. So, or not 3 seasons, but 3 different series. So they were sort of saying that Star Trek never extended beyond Deep Space Nine, and that Voyager never happened, Enterprise never happened, things like that. I forgot about that. But maybe it was because they were 20 years ago back in time as well, right? But anyway, this is an amazing nod to our favorite series, and it just sort of established in universe that Space 1999 was very, very popular, perhaps more popular than we know it as of today. So just a really cool, and I think it was actually our friend Gordon Moriguchi who provided that comlock prop for the series. They reached out to him via his Facebook pages, and so he kindly provided this for the producers of For All Mankind. So yeah, a really fun little Easter egg for all of us Space 1999 fans out there, for sure. So, okay, well, back to some comments here. Stephen Redder, love the scene in Mankind with the comlock where the character said Barbara Bain gave it to him. So Space 1999 definitely exists in that universe. Exactly, Stephen. Yeah, 100%. Simon's chiming in. Space 1999 could only have happened in the 1970s, though. Power cuts, terrorist groups, environmental disaster. Space 1999 is radioactive with concerns that, yeah, that's true. I mean, good point. Yeah, no, for sure. And of course, seeing that comlock was just, I remember even Jamie Anderson in the Anderson store had posted on it, and what a fun little nod, hey, and it's the power of our little series, the little show that could, and here we are 50 years later, and it's all that much more relevant and timely, like we all said. So well, terrific. Listen, thank you to everybody again. I won't drone on here. It's we're coming up on an hour, and the one thing I would do though is you know what, and I mentioned spoiler, not spoilers before. If you are concerned about that, maybe just mute us for the next couple minutes. I'm going to run a little recap of seasons 1 to 4 from For All Mankind for anybody out there who hasn't checked it out, that wants the a short path to jump into season 5. But there's a couple spoilers, nothing too major in here. And I think I've got, like I said, if you understand the premise of the series, right? I mean, you basically know the setup for many of the arcs and stories that they cover, you know, over the last 30 years in universe. So, but I just figured I'd run this nice little recap, and it'll give everybody a sense out there as well of the quality of production and design in this series. I can't talk about it enough. So one more comment from Rob. UFO would have needed to exist for some of the sets to be reused in Space 1999. Another good point, another close connection and tie there. Of course, I've always said that, of course, UFO could serve as easily a prequel, right? And it was originally conceived as such, right? Or Space was supposed to be year 2, the sequel, right? So a number of different ways you can look at it, but it's hard not to see the connections and the potential ties there of creating a shared universe, things like that, or an alternate universe, even between Space and UFO. So, all right, give me a second here, and I'll cue this up. sort of perfected this the other day on the NASA live stream. So I need to do, give me 1 second. Whoop. And I think this video will be okay. I don't think it'll hit us with any copyright strikes. So one second, sorry everybody. Now I need to get this into here. There we go. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do this. All right, here we go. Here's a quick little season 1 to 4 recap of For All Mankind.
What if America didn't get to the moon first? Because in June 1969, the Soviet Union beats the US to the biggest moment in human history. And overnight, NASA stops being about exploration and becomes about survival. NASA scrambles to respond, and astronaut Ed Baldwin, hotshot, proud, and stubborn, gets benched after running his mouth to a reporter. Then the Soviets land the first woman on the moon. And that single moment changes everything. NASA is forced to recruit women and recruit them fast, bringing in new generations of talent like Tracy Stevens, who's fearless and magnetic, Danielle Poole, brilliant and steady, and Ellen Waverly, reserved but razor sharp. NASA ends up finding ice, which means there's water, oxygen, and eventually fuel, and the plan shifts from plant a flag on the moon to build a base on the moon. That base becomes Jamestown, the first American foothold on the moon, and it's not long before the Soviets build their own base nearby. By the mid-1970s, Jamestown is running on stress, isolation, and duct tape. Ed is up there, Daniel is up there, and Gordo Stevens is up there too, slowly unraveling. Paranoia turns deadly. Ed captures a Soviet cosmonaut in a moment of pure fear and escalation, because now everybody is spying, everybody's armed, and nobody trusts anyone. Now let's jump to the 1990s, and the moon has just been a warm-up act at this point. Now it's all about Mars, and it's not just countries anymore. A private company named Helios enters the game, led by visionary billionaire Dev Aissa, and suddenly NASA has competition that doesn't have to answer to elections. Now there are 3 missions racing to Mars: NASA, the Soviets, and Helios. And on the way to Mars, things go sideways. A Soviet nuclear malfunction kills astronauts during an attempted rescue, trust fractures, and when they finally reach Mars, the who steps on first moment becomes messy, symbolic, and perfect for the show. Daniel and the Soviet commander basically hit the surface together, fighting for that headline. The crews are forced to share the same fragile environment under political pressure, and internal sabotage turns catastrophic. The base nearly collapses, literally leading to deaths, trauma, and the kind of survival choices that permanently change people. By 2003, Mars isn't just a mission, it's an industry. Happy Valley has grown into a real outpost with workers rotating in and out like it's an oil rig, and one of them is Miles Dale, a regular guy who gets sold the dream and then realizes he's trapped in low pay, cramped quarters, and corporate fine print. Danielle returns as commander, trying to hold the place together, while Ed, now older, shakier, and dealing with tremors, can't accept being sidelined. He's still Ed Baldwin, he still wants the wheel. And then the new prize appears, an asteroid called Goldilocks, packed with enough valuable metal to reshape economies for decades. The world agrees, we need to capture it. But they don't agree exactly where it should go. Earth wants it and Mars needs it. And that single argument turns Happy Valley into a battlefield, politically, economically, and physically. Ed quietly aligns with Dev on a plan to steal the asteroid for Mars, because to them, this isn't just a job, it's the future of the colony. And then the season turns absolutely brutal. Sergei is murdered, Margot breaks, Alita is forced to choose between revenge and legacy, and in the final chaotic push, multiple players on Mars and in Mission Control commit the same impossible move: force Goldilocks into Mars orbit, even if Earth tries to stop it, and they pull it off. Happy Valley erupts into riots, and the truth becomes unavoidable. Mars is no longer a mission, it's a civilization, and civilization comes with consequences. Thank you for watching my recap of For All Mankind seasons 1 through 4. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button. And if you want to get these recaps even earlier, join my Director's Cut tier of membership, help support the channel, get the recaps early.
There we go. There's your quick and easy little For All Mankind recap. Um, a couple of things when we were watching that is I didn't even mention that. I'd sort of forgotten when they build out that very, very first lunar base and lunar colony. It's like the nod, the reference to Moonbase Alpha itself, which, to be fair, was maybe lifted a little bit from Kubrick's 2001, right? There's credit where credit's due, but just that circular design, just really, really, in my mind, of course, reminiscent of Moonbase Alpha. So, and the other thing was, I lost my train of thought. So let me check the comments. It might have been in there that somebody jogged my memory. Oh yeah, well yeah, Phil, absolutely so exciting. And so they announced about a year ago after season 4 ended that they were commissioning a spin-off series. So it's going to be called Star City. We have Star City coming, which talks about the Russian side of the divergence. We have one more season of For All Mankind afterward, and that means we'll see an alternate present day 2020s. Yes, you're absolutely right. Feel very excited for Star City. I think it's set to launch like the essentially the week that season 5 ends. So there'll be the season 5 finale, and then a Star City is gonna launch. So yeah, it's really, really done very well for Apple TV and Apple TV in general. Boy, I tell you, for anybody out there, you'll appreciate this. Just like it's the home of science fiction. It really is. For All Mankind, Silo, Severance, and Foundation. It's like some of the smartest and thought-provoking science fiction on TV nowadays. I can't, like, boy, Apple is really, really knocked it out of the park. And yeah, some really, really high quality productions there. So anyway, I think that's about it. There was something else I can't remember. I'll think of it as soon as we go off the air here. Phil saying I also recommend Dark Matter. It's a mind bender. Yeah, I really appreciate a series like that. I've heard that about Dark Matter, Phil. I'm a big David Lynch fan as well. So trust me, I get the surreal and not necessarily linear types of storytelling at the same time. That's why I liked Year One of Space so much too, right? I mean, because it was so out there, outside the box with some of the storytelling. And ambiguous, right? Didn't give you all the answers, right? That's David Lynch to a T. You go into a David Lynch movie expecting a clear answer at the end of it. Yeah, forget it. So, okay, well, that's it. That's my little live update for today. We do have another one coming up on Sunday where we'll be spinning that into a Space 1999 episode discussion about New Adam, New Eve. And yeah, keep watching. Stretch goals coming this week as well. And like I said, don't let that discourage you from contributing over the weekend, because the stretch goals will benefit everybody. They're going to be designed that so it's not going to be a new tier and you've maybe already contributed and said, oh well, I wish I would have known. No, the stretch goal, there's going to be no cost to it per se, right? It's going to be simply like a more of a social stretch goal where we're of course going to try and achieve a next level of funding. But if we do it together as a community, it's sort of going to engage everybody who's already contributed to help us spread the word a little bit and share it around, tell their friends and family. It'll unlock a really, really cool aspect that I think you guys are going to love. So just be watching for that. Yeah, thank you very much again for everything. I appreciate everybody tuning in today for this one-off episode. Happy holidays. Happy Good Friday to everyone out there. And we'll see each other very, very soon. Okay. Bye for now.